I'm going to call the meeting to order and welcome all of you here. Is something special going on? Nice to have all of you here. Excuse me. I sound like a teacher now, don't I? Roll call, please. I do.
We'll just go down the end. Kristen Parker. Donna Morency. Here. Chad Howell. Here. Denny Beaver. Here. Betty Kinzer.
Here.
Nathan Atkinson. Will Sims. Here. David Moore is president. Michael Fulbright. Here. Natasha.
Here.
And Tommy is not present. And we do have a quorum.
Thank you. A little bit different meeting tonight, not exactly, but it is a called special meeting, so we plan to do business tonight. But I did, when we planned this meeting, I talked with Jennifer, MCEA, and said that we would give an opportunity for public comments as long as they were, other than her comments. Well, at the board meeting the other night, I gave her the opportunity to speak for all of you, so she'll get 5 minutes, okay? Is that enough? All right. The rest of you, if you could just keep it to 2 minutes. I know you. I know that you don't want to sit here a lengthy meeting as well, but we do want to hear what you have to say. So, with that in mind, can you bring me the? First one up is MCEA.
Chair Kinzer and board members, it's been a while since I've said it, but I'm going to say it today. We together have worked hard on establishing a positive relationship between the board and MCA by having respectful conversations and decreasing the negativity in our community about Murray County Public Schools. I want to thank the board for including teachers and essentially some community members in the process of searching for a new Murray County Public School superintendent. Murray County Education Association hosted approximately 50 people at Columbia Central High School on each of 3 days for a meet and greet of the candidates. Murray County Education Association then asked for anonymous feedback from the attendees, which was then compiled into one document for each candidate and provided to the board on June 1st. I hope that each member took the time to read the comments, as they were well thought and consistent amongst the candidates. When the board met with the Tennessee School Board Association on March 11th, they determined what it was they were looking for in a new director. When looking at the Murray County Board policy for the requirements of the Director of Schools, the Board Policy 5.802 lists the following: a professional educator's license, a master's degree in education with a preference for a doctorate degree, 3 years of successful experience in school administration, and such other qualifications as the board deems desirable. On March 11th, the board suspended Board Policy 5.802 by unanimous vote. Board 5.802 does not just address the qualifications of a director, but also the goal, scope, and responsibility, essential functions, which include general administrative, financial management, personnel administration, instructional leadership, community and public relations. All of these are noble leadership skills and should be required of any director or superintendent of a public school. This is why almost every single school district in the state of Tennessee has the exact same policy in place and the same requirements for directors. Instead, Murray County School Board adopted for this particular search an evaluative process that would evaluate the candidate on professional accomplishments as well as individual qualities while holding a bachelor's degree. And a bachelor's degree in nothing in particular, just holding a bachelor's degree. Some of these evaluative qualities include, among others, someone who can solve problems, has effective listening skills with an open door policy, develop and administer a comprehensive school budget, can build support, confidence, and pride in our school system, the ability to unify and work effectively with diverse student populations and multicultural groups within the system, and build and maintain a high morale. as well as leading and building a vision. When I spoke to the board on June 1st, I stressed that no one wants this to be a rushed decision to get someone in place and selected before the blackout period. This is a decision that I am certain is not being entered into lightly. While all candidates have strengths and weaknesses, the board must look for someone who would meet not just one set of criteria or one focal point, or meet the bare minimum. We must have someone who will engage teachers, parents, and students and build morale. The feedback provided from the meet and greet at Central shows that TSBA did their due diligence. They provided 3 candidates who met the criteria: Mickey Hall, the Chief Financial Officer and Deputy Director of Wilson County Schools; Dr. Amy Wyatt, former CEO of high schools in Metro Nashville and current SREB consultant, as well as an adjunct professor in Lipscomb; and Michael Hickman, current principal at Mount Juliet Elementary. Mickey Hall was the only one of the 3 finalists recruited for the position by the TSBA. Feedback provided showed that people were impressed with Mickey Hall's financial background. He appeared dedicated and professional and well-spoken. They liked that he was worked in the same district for 27 years and has a proven track record. From that meeting, attendees felt like he was straightforward and was interested in doing a salary study for all employees. Attendees are concerned at his lack of classroom experience or building level experience. They felt like there was a little vision, and teachers were concerned about teachers developing curriculum. Teachers felt strongly that they don't have the time to do so. Teachers were concerned with pay for performance models. They feel he will balance a budget on the backs of employees through various pay and insurance models. There were concerns about his lack of experience in evaluating personnel, and are concerned that because he is coming from a district with the 2nd highest per capita income, he may be coming to Murray County with rose-colored glasses. Feedback on Dr. Amy White indicated they appreciated her strong educational background and felt she was professional and friendly. Her experience made her very qualified, understanding organizational and financial systems within a school district. She seems to understand the uniqueness of a system that has rural, urban, and suburban communities. She is realistic about budget struggles and believes in respecting teachers as professionals. Some concerns are the multiple roles Dr. Wyatt currently serves in what she will bring in a team of her people. She didn't seem to understand the needs of our system, and people wondered if she was realistic about the financial and educational issues in Murray County. Other comments included they liked her systems of check and balances, appreciated the importance of literacy, and her ability to make decisions, and a few people responded, "We need her, hire her." The final candidate we hosted was Michael Hickman. Overall, comments regarding Michael Hickman were extremely positive, including that he would be their pick out of all 3. People heard a passion for education and appreciated that he had a burden in his heart for Murray County. They felt he was positive and had leadership and structure. They felt he could build morale and bring our schools back into good standing. They were impressed with his ability to turn schools around either academically or with climate and culture. Out of the 3, they felt like he was the most impassioned for the position. His experience building teams that include all personnel and attendees felt like he was pro-student and talked extensively about students and how important knowing each student in a school is. His military background was viewed as favorable, and that he believes in people over programs. He used businesses in multiple ways other than just financial. He spent a lot of time focusing on morale, trust, and relationships. Those in attendance felt like he was up to date with the health needs and academic needs and research related to education. Going forward, this is a hard decision. Let me back up. When looking at concerns, it boiled down to one thing: lack of central office experience. Even given people's concerns with his lack of central office experience, people felt like he could do the job. In fact, some felt like it would be a positive that he doesn't have the central office experience, as he is coming with the knowledge he has to learn. And they felt like he had what was needed and the drive to do so. He has never backed away from a challenge and is sought out for his willingness to take on challenges and turn them around. Going forward, this is a hard decision. In the end, you will have to answer for, and only you. You will answer most certainly to the county commissioners, supervisors, administrators, teachers, parents, and ultimately the students Murray County Public Schools serves. What do we know? We know that teacher morale is low across the country, but more so locally, and is making it a challenge to retain, much less recruit, high-quality teachers. We know we have issues with finances, many of which many of which have been addressed with the 81 Act. We know that the budget continues to be an issue due to shortfall in revenue and tenuous relationships between the board and county commission. We know that getting textbooks in the hands of students has been an issue for years and something the board has been all over the district about. We also know that Maury County students are struggling academically. While no one is naive enough to believe schools need strong financial stewardship, there is nothing that says it cannot be done under the leadership of someone who is also an educational leader. Districts all over the state of Tennessee do so using the same policy that the board set aside. Our children in our schools do not need to be and should not be measured by dollars saved or positions cut or programs slashed. We need teachers and instruction, a leader who understands students and teachers, a leader who can and will inspire both students and teachers, but all employees to be extraordinary. Not all candidates have this experience. When looking at candidate feedback from people in the trenches, there is strong support for both Dr. White and Michael Hickman, especially Hickman because of their work with students and teachers and their history of success in turning things around. Please, as you go forward, keep the mission in mind to provide the educational educational instruction, tools, and environment for every child to succeed in life as lifelong learners, independent thinkers, fearless innovators, and exemplary citizens. If you can't pick one that does all of these things, then go back. Don't make a rush decision.
Thank you. Next is Betsy Barr.
Good evening. I sent this letter to you last night in your email. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but I thought I would read it to you now. Chair.
Let me just say this.
Yes.
I did. We did get it, but we had so many that I just today decided not to answer all of them. I read them. I promised. I read them. Okay.
All right. Chair Kinzer and elected board members, as a longtime Maury County educator going on 30 years, I've dedicated much of my life to the children, community, and schools of Maury County. As we move forward with a new director of schools, I was grateful for the opportunity to attend the meet and greet at CHS and ask questions specific to my role as a teacher. I am a level 5 middle school ELA social studies teacher whose students have scored the highest in Maury County in their grade level on 10 ready tests. I also took the almost 4 hours out to watch the board interviews. While it seems urgent to get this done, the decision cannot and should not be taken lightly or rushed through to get someone in place. The decision in your hands will impact not only the board's work going forward, but decisions that will impact teachers, students, and the community for years to come. This is why I am taking the time to share my thoughts, concerns, and feelings regarding the candidates with you. While I understand Maury County Public Schools has gone through a lot with budget, finance, and audit issues, I also know firsthand how this has impacted the teachers and students in the classroom and in turn the community over the past 5 to 10 years. I feel confident that the audit and financial issues will be addressed through the new finance director. I do not want the school board to water down expectations for a director of schools to fill a need that has recently been addressed. The very first thing listed on the board policy is Educator Licensure. What we need in Maury County is an instructional and educational leader who teachers and employees can feel good about. Someone that will be supportive and have high expectations with evidence that they have done it before. I truly hope that as you watched the interview with Mickey Hall and looked at feedback from teachers and a few community members who attended the meet and greet, that you realize that while Mickey Hall is great at finances, he offered little information on changing the academic climate with the exception of raising expectations. While he probably came across very relatable to the business community, he did not come across relatable at all to teachers. The board has been asking about textbooks and curriculum for several years. When the teachers asked him about textbooks, his answer was to have teachers develop curriculum and have it on a server. This is extremely concerning, especially knowing that teachers, parents, and board members would like a balance of textbooks and technology. Also, how does the board justify such minimal requirements as a bachelor's degree in any field and feel that is adequate as an educational leader in our district? He also seemed to lack understanding with working with diversity, as he was unfamiliar with some of the things asked by community members. So many of these issues are concerning to me, and I would be truly disappointed if the board felt like Mickey Hall was the best fit. Of the three, I was most impressed with Michael Hickman. His ability to come in and turn around school climate and culture as well as test scores is extremely commendable. He was absolutely the most relatable to teachers of the three candidates. He meets the qualifications to meet the board's original policy for requirements for the position in all four areas. He has the education, experience, and licensure that the board has listed in their policy as requirements. He was most impressive with his knowledge of state testing issues, evaluation models, the BEP, and other school and employee-related association requirements for student-to-teacher-nurse ratio. While he is from Murray County, he has gathered experience from outside of our system in systems that have been successful and earned both state and national recognition for his work. His military experience and accomplishments could only be a benefit to the school system. He has experience in not only rallying the troops in his military background, but also in very large schools as well. What about his lack of central office experience? Well, we have had people with central office experience in leadership, and here we are. Someone who is structured but willing to be flexible in the support of teachers may be better than someone who can balance a budget. Our teachers and children are not dollars. In order for major changes to the education Murray County provides students, the people most influential in those academic changes will have to feel valued and prepared and have the materials and support that Michael Hickman has to offer. While Mickey Hall has the ability to cut a budget, he does not have the ability Michael Hickman has to inspire teachers and students and to boost morale. And that is who counts. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Stephanie Newland. Stephanie, I'm really trying to be polite here, but
I'm going to
you're
do
going
it.
to keep it to 2 minutes.
I'm going to keep it under. She borrowed from me. How's
she
that?
surely did, and
Okay.
that's fine.
Good evening, board, and hello, everybody. I attended the three. This is Stephanie Newland. I'm 14 years in the county, 25 years teaching, and I have 18 pages of notes from those three meet and greets. And I will say, at the bottom of my notes on Michael Hickman, I have a great big no. On the bottom of Amy Wyatt's notes, I have a great big I would like her. On the, I've got that backwards. It was Mickey Hall that was the no. Sorry, Mr. Hickman. I saw him back there, too. I know, I'm like, whoa! I'm going backwards in my notes trying to be fast. I want a teacher to lead teachers, and I want somebody with that ability to understand curriculum. And here are two questions that caused alarm for me. Why do you want to be in Murray County? Mickey Hall, let me get this right, couldn't answer that. I don't think he wants to be in Murray County. Not sure why he even came to the interview. Michael Hickman and Dr. Amy Wyatt had very inspiring words about why they would want to be citizens and part of Murray County. That was the first thing that caught my attention, and that was the first reason I put a no on Mickey Hall. The second one was our NAACP president was there at those meet and greets, Paco Havard, and he asked questions that really related to our black students, our minority communities, and I will say Mickey Hall had the deer in the headlights look of somebody that didn't have a clue what he was talking about. And I talked to Paco afterwards, and I said, no brownie points there, and he laughed and said none whatsoever. I could not decide between Michael Hickman and Dr. Amy Wyatt, but I can tell you for sure I'll be extremely disappointed if you choose Mickey Hall. Under 2 minutes?
Jen.
Now I get to speak on behalf of myself. I don't normally do this, but I have a student in Murray County School Systems, and I'm an educator in a level 5 reward school. And I didn't prepare anything for this because I was really busy trying not to go too far over on my other speech.
You did.
What I do want to say is that I do believe educators are the people who lead educators. I do not believe that financial people lead educators. I do not want my son to become a dollar mark for Murray County Schools, a dollar mark in savings. I don't want my son to not have textbooks. I don't want teachers that I work with stressed out, or teachers that my son has stressed out about having to develop a curriculum that we've already been doing for years, pulling from here, there, and everywhere. For 3 years, now I'm waffling back. For 3 years, as a citizen, I've come to board meetings and listened to you all beg for textbooks. And to hire somebody who did not even let the word textbook fly out of his mouth is offensive to me. We're going into this unknown area of COVID-19 when parents aren't all going to be able to access technology as much as we'd like them to. We have to have textbooks to send home. We have to have something. Packets don't work. There's not enough direction in them. I really want our district to be amazing, or I never would have done what I've done in the past year. I don't think Mickey Hall is the one to do it. Thank you.
Alice Johns.
Hi, thank you for being here and for caring about our students in Murray County. I am passionate about Murray County Public Schools because I'm a product of Murray County Public Schools. Just my class from just a few years ago, I'm not as old as I look, haha. Teachers, mechanics, engineers, plumbers, electricians, mothers, fathers, lawyers, doctors, business owners, pilots, and many other jobs. How do we arrive back at the top? We need someone with ability and passion. We need someone trustworthy and capable of leading a team of community members, parents, teachers, and staff to provide the top education possible for our students. Michael Hickman has taught in a classroom. He's worked as an assistant principal and as a principal. He's even filled in as a nurse. He said he didn't do great at that, but we'll forgive him for that one. He might not have central office experience, but hear me when I say this. He didn't have experience when he was deployed to Kuwait to serve overseas, but he did it. Just because you don't have experience in one area does not mean passion and heart is what we need in this position. We recently had a situation with one of our bands here in Murray County that we had somebody that looked good on paper. This team looked good to lead that band. That band went from being one of the top to the bottom. But we put someone that on paper might not have looked as good, but he had a heart for that band, and he had a heart for those children, and he had a heart for Murray County. And our band in that school is coming back, thanks to him. So don't let a piece of paper tell you about somebody and their abilities. He wants our school system to be in the top. He has the heart and the people skills to make it happen, and the ability for us to trust him. Please remember, our children are the most valuable assets we have in Murray County. We need someone who, as he said, uses diversity to make decisions, not makes decisions to figure out how it's going to affect diversity. Our community is amazing because we are a diverse community. We are a community of people of many different backgrounds, many different places that we live, many different things that we do. Just the building that I work in is an example of that. Our children need to know that they have someone who wants to be in Murray County. This is the only place he applied because he wants to come here and make a change, and he wants to help us. and I think that we could trust him to be our next leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Do board members have anything to say before we proceed? Mr. Fulbright? Did you? I didn't have mine. Okay, then never mind.
Yeah, if you could, just kind of explain how we're doing this and kind of when would be the
Yes.
best time for us to talk about what we think about the applicants.
What we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask all the board members by ballot vote to vote on two, their top two. We'll narrow it down to two, and then we can either discuss if we need to or not, and then we'll vote on one. If we reach a decision, we reach a decision. If we don't, then we'll discuss an interim. Obviously, we only have 10 people here. We're missing an 11th board member, so there is always a possibility of a tie not having the 6 votes. I know that, you know, I don't know where to comment other than this is one of the most difficult process I think all of us as board members could go through. And I think we looked at it in many different ways. So you have to trust that in whatever we do tonight. So I'm going to ask each board member now to vote. Denny Beaver is going to collect the votes, and I'll call them out. Or ballots, it's not. Yes. We're supposed to sign this and put both. You're supposed to sign it, put both names on it. Excuse me. First ballot is Nathan Atkinson. He voted for Michael Hickman and Amy Wyatt. The next ballot is Will Sims. He voted Michael Hickman, Mickey Hall. Did you want to vote for two, Natasha? There's 2 cards in. She turned both. Oh, okay. Natasha Hopkins voted for Amy Wyatt and Mickey Hall. I know I'm an art teacher, but it looks like Mickey Hall. I didn't know we could change our vote. Yeah. I'm so sorry. That's fine. Okay. Michael Hickman. It was Amy White, Michael Hickman. Kristen Parker is Michael Hickman and Mickey Hall. Michael Fulbright is Michael Hickman, Mickey Hall. David Moore is Michael Hickman, Mickey Hall. Denny Beaver, Hall, Hickman. Chad Howell, Hall, Hickman. Donna Morency, Mickey Hall, Amy Wyatt. Betty Kinzer, Mickey Hall, Michael Hickman. Okay, we had 8 votes for Mickey Hall, 3 votes for Amy White, and 9 votes for Michael Hickman. All right, the next order of business would be to narrow it down to one, which would be ultimately making the choice to make the recommendation for director of schools. Yes. It wasn't on the, call to order. Okay. All right. Motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Moore, seconded by Chad Howell. Can we take a voice vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry about that. All right. The next order of business would be to place one vote, and that would be your choice for director of schools, after which we can have discussion now, depending on if board members want to say something prior to. We're going to just do it by ballot, and then we'll make a motion to accept the result. Kristen Parker, Mickey Hall. Guy. Natasha Hopkins, Amy Wyatt. Oh, she wasn't one of them. Okay. You have to vote for one of the two. Hickman.
My apologies. I've had a very bad day. I'm sorry. I really am.
Okay, this is Michael Fulbright, and it's Michael Hickman. This is Nathan Atkinson, Michael Hickman. This is Donna Morency, Mickey Hall. Okay. Chad Howell, Michael Hickman. Will Sims, Michael Hickman. David Moore, Mickey Hall. Denny Beaver, Mickey Hall. Betty Kinzer, Mickey Hall. It is 5-5, which means we have not reached a decision. So we will not be electing a director tonight, and the next is...
Wait a minute.
Okay, excuse me.
Can we, as far as the, I don't know, parliamentary procedure or whatever, what are our options other than just walking away and saying no?
You haven't taken any official action yet, so the sky's the limit. A board member could make a motion. If the chair finds it in order, then it could go forward for one or both, and you could vote. I think the ballot was to try to narrow things down as much as possible, but you haven't taken any action and rejected any candidate.
Thank you.
Mr. Atkinson.
Can we not have a discussion, let each candidate, or let each board member say the reason he's wanting to vote for that candidate, and see if we can break it down, maybe change someone's mind?
I am fine for any board member who wants to speak.
I'll start it off. This is not a decision that I take lightly, having been through this before and feeling like I swung and missed, to be honest with you. And I want the teachers to know, I've read the emails, I read the information that we got, and maybe this is just me being selfish, but for the last 5 years, we've had supposedly the educational leader, and it's not been good results. And that's kinda where I am. I need somebody that I can trust what they say, and finances are still a big issue. I don't want Doug making those decisions. We sat up here the other night for budget, and Mr. Lukonen, he's not responsible for making cuts in everybody's budgets. That's not what his job entails. We've gotta have somebody that sits in the superintendent position that can make those recommendations and that we can trust. There were certain things that Mickey Hall said that just kinda stuck out to me. One was just kind of trying to create a culture of high expectations. I recognize that he doesn't have that educational experience that a lot of you guys want, but at the same time, how often is a superintendent in your classrooms? Like, I trust y'all to do your work and to make those decisions that are gonna be in the best interest of children too, on a day-to-day basis. I would hope that if we have somebody that can give us some organizational skills, at the end of the day, this is a $100 million budget, and I just don't have a lot of faith, based off of what I've seen in the last 5 years. I just have some real concerns about the educational leader stepping into that particular role, and that's really my biggest hang-up.
Anyone else? Mr. Fulbright.
I'll never pass up a good opportunity. I think that a lot of those points are valid. However, I do think it's not just the fact we had an educator in that role. That's caused us problems over the last 5 years. I think there are a pretty good list of other things we could discuss, not just the fact that the person had an education background. And as someone with an education background, I would like to point that out. I think that there's a lot to be said about morale, trust, attitude, expectations going into a new school year with a new person. And I think if we go ahead and we set up a confrontational relationship between the teaching staff and the administrative staff based totally on assumptions. Mr. Hall may be one of the greatest cheerleaders for teachers that we've ever seen. We don't know. Mr. Hickman may turn out that he doesn't like teachers at all, and we may not know that either. But we're making a lot of assumptions, and we have to at this point because we don't know what the future holds. I would rather go into the school year with someone who the teachers at least are willing to give the benefit of the doubt to. And I believe they very strongly, overwhelmingly, have voiced that opinion. And I think that should not be discounted, and it should not be cast aside. I think there's a lot to be said for that. The other thing I would like to say, I do not want us leaving this room tonight without choosing a superintendent. Not an interim. We need somebody. I think, from my list and the way I saw the interviews, we have two very strong candidates in Mr. Hall and Mr. Hickman. I don't have to live in the classroom every day, but I don't think we could really go wrong with either one. Totally wrong. So I'd like to at least see us make progress in that area tonight. And obviously, I've just voiced my opinion on who I think that person would be. And I would like those who may still be on the fence, if you're 50-50 and you're sitting up here and you think, like I do, that we've got two great candidates, you can ask all those people right out there which way you ought to fall off that fence.
I have to say, I've been 50-50 for the last 10 days, so, it is, I don't think we could go wrong with either one of them, I really don't. And I think, as Kristen says, the thing in the years I've been, especially as board chair, and been involved with way more than just the classroom, and the need for organization and for, leadership, somebody that's in charge and that can right the ship. And I feel like probably both can do it. And because I'm on the fence, I will listen to board members. I'm like, I would like to not have an interim, but at the same time, I think we kind of rush this. So I'm kind of, that's another 50-50 I have, is that we rush to make, because we've got that blackout deadline and we've got so much ahead of us. We've got to open schools. we've got, we don't know what the fall is gonna bring, so maybe just, taking taking a step back, maybe that's the thing to do, I don't know. But, I can be convinced one way or the other, so talk to me. Mr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Chair. My reasoning behind Mr. Hickman is mainly he has come from this community. He is a product of our community. And he has the heart and the willingness to come back to this community to try to help our kids get the education they deserve. I'm not looking at the finance piece of it. I think we've got the finance piece somewhat in a better situation than what we had in the past. We got somebody in that role right now that's doing a heck of a job. And I think with Mr. Hickman's support as a superintendent to guide him in the direction of our spending, and along with the school board, which I probably won't be here next term, but with the guidance of the school board on where to spend that money, I don't see where the budget issue is gonna come into effect, because we're pretty well set now. We've got somebody good in there. I think we need to look at the education piece of this. We're still almost at the bottom right now. We've got to get that education piece back up. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. He's a product of Murray County, and in my heart, I think he's got the heart himself to come in here and give his 110, 120% to get these students back to where they need to be at.
Mr. North.
Thank you. I can't start off by trying to disparage any of the candidates. I'll be honest. I mean, I felt like we had 3 good candidates, all in different ways, and they all had some strengths. Personally, I think they all had some strengths I wouldn't mind seeing in the district in general, in various roles. And with my top pick of Mr. Hall, I'll be honest, and probably coming somewhat from where Kristen was coming from, there are some variables with each of these candidates. With Mr. Hall, I think the biggest was just some people were not sure about how he would be in terms of the staff and the teachers. And I can understand that. But I think from where I'm sitting, and again, with what Kristen was saying, I'm very hesitant to put someone in this position, because this is, again, a $103 million corporation, whether we like it or not. To put someone here that just has not had that top experience, and for me, it's a tough call to gamble with that piece. That said, I mean, I can definitely understand where everybody up here has their pick on that, and I can understand why everybody has their reasons. I feel confident that my other board members here are all trying to make the best decision, and I do appreciate the input of all the teachers and everyone else that has reached out. So I know many of us over the last week or so, because I've heard about 1 million different points from every different possible angle, and it's been helpful. But again, I think for me, that's where I've come down to someone who I feel like can step into this role on day one and understand what the role is and be able to complete the tasks that we give them. And there's no question there for me on that. I think Mr. Hickman definitely has a lot of traits that I really liked. I personally identified with him quite well as I got to know him. I feel like he could do these things. But he also may not be able to, if I'm just being honest. He may not be able to translate some of those things that he has done an excellent job of at that school level up to the entire organization. And that's a big gamble. I mean, as some of you guys have talked about, what your opinions are on this, that's a big fear of mine, just to be honest, that we bring somebody in here. And again, with Kristen, I feel like I kind of made some bad decisions last time around. Brought someone that didn't have experience in, and they couldn't handle all the aspects of what this job really brings on. And that's a big fear of mine, that we do that again. And I really don't want to put the county through that, to have to be in a position where the person we hire simply cannot handle the job. And again, that's why I'm gonna defer to the person who has been in this role and knows how to run the organization. And I feel confident that with the direction of the board in place, can meet whatever requirements we put of them on an academic standard. And again, that comes up to the board, and that's gonna be true for any person we put in here, but I feel like if we set that course for Mr. Hall on an academic level and make sure that he is handling the academic side of this, that can be done. Thank you.
Mr. Howe?
So I have a couple of things. Some of my problems with Mr. Hall is in the interview, I didn't feel very relatable to him, and I'm a very relatable guy. I deal with people every day. I have to, pardon? Not as relatable as you, no, I'm sorry, not as relatable as Ms. Kinzer. And I just didn't relate to him. I didn't connect to him. I feel that his decisions are numbers based. And I just don't think that's right. But I have questions about other things. We keep saying we want central office experience, but how many of our last superintendents had central office experience? I think all of them mostly have. So how has that worked out? How has that put us in this position today? So I'm not sure that is relevant as someone who has leadership experience. I think that's more important, is leadership experience and the qualities we need there. Another question I have is, Mr. Hall has been with Wilson County Schools for 27 years. It's a long time to be there. And he's worked his way up to number 2, and he's been there at number 2 for a very long time. He was an interim for about 6 months in 2007, but he's never been number 1. Why? Why won't they put him in that position? The current superintendent who has put them into one of the number 1 spots in Tennessee, as far as education goes, has been there since 2014, and she's due to retire this year, but the board asked her to stay on for 1 more year. If you live in Wilson County already, why wouldn't you just wait another year and apply for that job? Unless you know that you're not going to get it. That's just a big question to me. This is completely my opinion. I have no knowledge, but these are just questions that just bother me. I don't understand that. Always number 2. Why are you always number 2? I don't know. The last thing I have to say is, he seemed like a nice guy, one-on-one, talking to him one-on-one, but he just didn't seem to have a passion for education and a passion for children. And I'm not saying that's our number 1 thing, that we have to have passion in everything we do, but I think he does have a passion, and I think it's numbers. I think it's being number 2. He not being the number 2 guy. He doesn't personify leadership, in my opinion. He's not my guy. And that's all I have to say.
Mr. Beaver?
Thank you, ma'am. Well, it's hard to follow, but I had the opportunity to ride around for 2 hours with each one of the candidates, and we didn't get down to the specifics, but you can get a warm feeling in talking to people, and I believe Mr. Hickman is a very, very good, very dedicated person, and I think Mr. Hall, I think he's dedicated, and he knows numbers, and that's what we got here, is a big business. And like Mr. Moore and Ms. Parker said, last time we made a mistake when we hired the person that we did, and we had to train him, and we didn't do a very good job at that. So I think it's dollars that makes the world go round. And, you know, as long as Mr. Hall knows how to surround himself with the proper educated people, the proper supervisors. And after 27 years, I believe he knows the people that he can trust and can be a success. And so that's the reason that I'm for Mr. Hall, and I believe he'll be our best candidate.
One short little thing.
Mr. Fulbright.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one thing I forgot to say earlier, and several of the things that were just said jogged my memory. I think if we're allowing things that happened 5 years ago to cloud this decision, we're doing a disservice to everybody, not just Mr. Hickman, but Mr. Hall, Dr. Wyatt, our staff, our citizens, everybody in this county. If we're holding the actions and the performance of one person against somebody else for any reason, we're doing a disservice. I think, and I've said this before in the meetings, but I think what we're doing is exactly what I said I didn't want to see us do. And that is, we had somebody, great entertainer, knew what they were doing, could cast a vision like nothing else, and was entertaining as all get out. That didn't work. So what are we going to do? We're going to go all the way back over here. We're going to swing the pendulum all the way back to the other side to get somebody totally opposite just for the sake of not doing anything similar to what we did in the past. I think that's the disservice that we're doing not only to ourselves, but to our students, parents, citizens, and staff. So thank you for allowing me to have that opportunity.
Ms. Hopkins.
Well, I just wanted to say that my 50-50 also is the rush piece. Feeling rushed because it is a big decision. Did we narrow it down to the right? Could we have cast our net a little wider and got more candidates in? But I will say, with my going down now that I got the right person, because now I'm trying to clear my mind. Mr. Hickman, the things that stood out about him was I kept hearing the word diversity, and that is something that is really a need for our community and our children. We're going to have somebody that sees all children and sees all teachers and wants to bring the support with that. And he said he uses diversity to solve the problems and not the other way around, trying to see how you deal with each child or each situation in that respect. Because everything it's not a one-track thing for every child. He also, he talked about, he was awarded the Blue Ribbon Award for the school that he was in. That's a major accomplishment. He wants to understand the community. He came from this community. So sometimes when your heart is in a place where you came from and you want to see change, that's always a big plus. But the other thing is this is a gamble no matter which way we go. And I'm hearing people say, I think that I can trust. I think I can trust. We don't know. We don't know. All we have is a resume and what they've told us. But we have to, they will have to prove, whoever we choose, will have to show us. It'll be the proof is in the pudding when we make that decision. So, but that was really key. Of all of them that presented, he talked about diversity the most, and that is something we have to meet the needs of all children. It has to be diverse. Thank you.
Ms. Parker.
Mr. Fulbright, I think you make a lot of really good points about the overcorrection. And honestly, that's been one of my biggest concerns, because I think that's exactly what we did the last time that we got into this situation. And when we went into this, I said I don't want to overcorrect. That's not my intention. I don't want to punish somebody for what happened over the last 5 years. There's a lot of water under the bridge. I want to move forward. But one thing I don't want us to do is I don't want this board to move forward 5-5, 6-4. Like, that's the thing about this that really bothers me. I really wish Tommy was here tonight, but even if it was 6 to 5, I don't know that I would have a comfort if it was Hall or Hickman at this point. I wish that there was some way that we could all get behind somebody, and that's something that really was ingrained in us when I first got on this board, was trying to have unanimous decisions, because this board has been divided for a while, and I think that this is what I feared was going to happen, that we were going to get into this situation and we were going to be divided. And all the work that we should have been doing for the last several months to figure out, me knowing what Natasha prioritizes, what Michael prioritizes, them knowing what I prioritize, and then collectively together, us knowing what our vision is for the superintendent, we don't have that. Like, I have my opinion based on my experience. Everybody else has their opinion, but we're not united as a board, and that bothers me. And that's got to bother these teachers too, because whoever we bring in, if this board's not united, they're not going to be successful. And I've worried all along that we were rushing this process. I said 3 months ago, we need to have an interim, we got a blackout period, and we pushed on, and that's fine. But I would hate for us to look back and feel like we rushed a decision, especially when we're not unified. If we can get some unity, that's fine, but I personally don't feel like that unity is going to just organically happen tonight. I wish that we could have a process where we sit down and we talk about, and we can maybe do some of that tonight, but I just don't know that we're all going to be able to get to yes tonight, unfortunately. And I hope that would have happened tonight. I really did.
I just want to answer since my name is...
Mr. Fulbright.
I think you got a lot of good points there. Two things I'd like to point out. If only board decisions that were unanimous or near unanimous went forward, nothing would ever happen. What is key is how the board reacts after a split vote. I think what I've watched from the outside of this of this school board over the last several years is that when there is a school board, a split vote, everything turns personal, and we start going at each other. Healthy boards, healthy committees don't do that. Healthy committees have a split vote, have a 1-point margin, and walk out shaking hands going afterwards. I had little notes here prepared in case Mr. Hall was our selection, admonishing us to be united.
Exactly.
So I knew it was going to be a close vote. It's not a matter of whether or not we're divided in our votes 5 to 5 or 6 to 4. What's key is how we go after that. Do we allow ourselves and our agendas and our personal issues to continue to flame up? I'm not saying that's what you're advocating. I don't think that at all. But I think that that's what's happened. That's what's happened in the past on this, and the county commission, quite frankly, too, over the last several years. And that's why we need mature leaders in these seats. I feel like we've got them right now. I don't know that we always have, but I feel like we do now. So I think even if we had a split vote left here tonight, we would still be able to have a productive director of schools step into this position. Even though we may have chose a different candidate, we wouldn't hold that against the person who was selected. Thank you.
And I'll let you just a minute. I do think that both candidates that we've named, I thought all three were really good. And I personally would, I've advocated all day, I've worried about the split vote, the 5-5, then we gotta talk about an interim, what are we gonna do, oh my gosh. But I do hear what Mr. Fulbright's saying, and I've heard your words about this board. And one of the things about this board that you may not know is that we don't walk outside of the door and argue and fight and grumble or get upset about somebody's vote. It's part of our policy not to do that, but we just don't. We are all have our own vision, what's best for our kids and what we want to see moving forward. But as a board, I think this is the best we've ever worked together, in that we're all here that are present and able to be here, and we're invested. And I think maybe let's all have this discussion right now. Let's vote again, make sure, see if we're still 5 to 5, if there's been any change. If not, then we'll move on from there. Mr. Moore.
Okay, I just wanna say something real quick. Okay.
No, oh, it's
Well,
me.
if I can say something quick,
Oh,
and
if it's you, I won't let you, no.
I didn't get anything. To that point, and I appreciate, there's some excellent points. Unfortunately, this is kind of the ugly part of what we have to do. We don't get to sit around and have discussions, in back rooms and do this. We have to sit up here and talk about these things in front of everybody, and it's a little uncomfortable at times. And it's sometimes drawn out and awkward, but in my opinion, it's the best thing for the public to have, as uncomfortable and awkward as it is, so that you guys see what we're going through. I will say this, of the top two candidates, I'm fully ready to walk out of this door regardless of which one it is and support either one of them 100%. And I feel like the rest of my board members feel the same way. So, I have no doubt that that's gonna take place, if that's the direction we go, if we choose one of these people. I would say this, if you wanna do a motion for another vote, that's fine, but beyond that, I was about to do a motion to delay this and choose an interim. And not because I wanna do that, but because I wanna get that off the table. If that's not what this board wants to do, we need to go ahead and pull off the table. We need to sit this out tonight and make a choice. So we just need to do one or the other is my point on that. So if you wanna make a motion one way or another, or I can do that motion.
No, I'm not calling on him. Mr.
Because I'm too reasonable, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, they took my mic away, anyway, so, you know, when I ran for this position in 2018, I had been coming to the meetings for a year prior, and I saw not a division, I mean, it was fractured. I mean, there were just group, I mean, there wasn't consistent at all. I feel like personally that since 2018, since several of us took the board, that I feel like we've all come together a lot more. I've got, you know, when we do different things and have retreats and whatnot, we get to talk to outside of business, you know, and get to do what?
We have a policeman.
Oh, yeah. But we get to know each other, and as we get to know each other, we get to have more commonality and understanding where we come from. I feel like this board has come a long way, from what I was on the outside looking in to where we are now. And I don't have any, you know, problem, I mean, going forward, if we choose someone that didn't choose, that's, you know, we will move forward as a board, as a unified board, and do that. I would like to take another vote and then entertain other ideas.
Mr. Sims.
So I don't think I want to say anything anyone else hasn't, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. So in my battle of trying to decide who to vote for, I was going with finance. I heard someone talking about stability and walking into the role and being able to begin right away, which is definitely what Mr. Hall brings. I do think the transition would be easier on us. However, I also thought about what is going to bring kids' test scores up, what's going to bring the teachers, central office, the board, kind of more of a rallying type person. And also, whenever Mr. Hickman spoke, I could feel the conviction in his heart for this county, and that meant something to me. As a young officer in this county, I had people tell me, go to Metro, that's where the money is, go, you know, do this or that. I didn't know the people in Metro. I didn't want to serve those people. I wanted to be in my home county because I was a better officer. I loved the people here, and I think that matters. And so that was the reasoning behind my vote for Mr. Hickman.
Well, I'm gonna take the license of the chair, and you all can lift me out of the chair if you want to, it doesn't matter, but, I think we've all heard this out, maybe minds have been changed, who knows? I would like to take another ballot. if there's any objection, speak now. Okay, and I don't have any ballots. No, she's got some. She's passing some. Denny Beaver, Hall. Mickey Hall. Donna Morency, Mickey Hall. Nathan Atkinson, Michael Hickman. Kristen Parker, Mickey Hall. Will Sims, Michael Hickman. Betty Kinzer, Michael Hickman. Michael Fulbright, Michael Hickman. David Moore, Mickey Hall. And Natasha Hopkins, Mr. Hickman. Who are we short? Did I not call him out? I've really been ugly to him. See how we get along? I don't have it. I gave it to him. I gave it to you. This is just torture. Do you need me to do another one? I think we know how you voted. It's official. Chad Howell voted for Mr. Hickman. I'll entertain a motion to accept the vote and start negotiations with Michael Hickman as Director of Schools.
I'll make the
Mr.
motion
Pullman.
that we offer the position of Director of Schools to Michael Hickman.
Negotiations.
Negotiations.
I'd second that.
Second by Mr. Moore. Is there any discussion? We'll do an electronic vote. Nathan, Mr. Hickman, Mr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Chair Kinzer. I just wanna say thank you to all the candidates. I mean, it was a hard choice. Ms. White, Mr. Hall, I mean, very great resumes, and y'all will probably go far in life with y'all's resumes that you got. I mean, it's just, it was a very hard decision.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Again, this was an easy process for anyone, and I appreciate everyone who put their name in for these positions, everyone who made it to the candidacy, giving their time to come and give a shot at this. Again, I know there's some differing opinions on what people you may have thought, but I firmly believe each of the candidates really thought they could do something good here in Murray County, and I think that's to be applauded. But to be honest, the hard work starts pretty soon. It doesn't end with just picking a person, regardless of who that person is. It means we are all, as a community, going to have to figure out exactly what we want, and be very explicit about what that is moving ahead, and be willing as a board and as teachers and staff members and community members that were willing to put in the work to get there. So I'm happy to support as we move ahead with this myself, and I'm looking forward to all of us putting in that work to get there. Thank you.
All right, and we'll have a vote. And Mr. Hickman, I wasn't expecting you to be here, but I'm glad you've been here. I know you appreciate the passion of all these teachers, so that puts you in, there you go. You heard it, right? Okay. And hopefully we'll hit the ground running from day one. So, but we need to vote on the motion, right? You want a roll call or? Well, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? See, it's unanimous. There you go. We're gonna take a few minutes off to have attorney-client, and we'll be back.
Hey, could you read back the motion that we just approved?
Mr. Fulbright, seconded by Mr. Moore, motion to accept I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I see no reason to vote. You all are adjourned. Okay.